Oh, what the hell? I didn't know I could do that.
What?
I went to hit the got it thing on my screen when it like tells you it's recording, and I accidentally grabbed my camera box and dragged myself across the screen. Can I do that with you guys? Oh, I can move you guys. Wow. Holy crap.
Welcome to the Big Motor Small Blade podcast. My name is Buddy Pulley, joined of course by my two co-hosts, Seth Dolby, newest member of Dirty Mo Media. We'll get to that. And then he's made his triumph. Well, he's made his return. Chuck is back after our weekend at Martinsville. How many hot dogs would we eat this weekend, boys?
I ate like 16, so.
Oh,
nice.
All right. How many? What about you, Chuck? Chuck, you were there 3 days.
I was there for 3 days and I ate 8 and not 16.
Okay.
I'm trying, Chuck. It says that, I'm trying to lose weight, and apparently you don't give a damn if you gain it.
I already explained that. I already explained this to you. You don't drink, but race beers don't count and race food doesn't count.
Yeah, dude, it counts on me later.
I guess it counts on you. You go to a whole lot more races, but then I guess we do.
Not to mention, I was sharing a hotel room with a guy, so like out of respect, my God, he has to use that bathroom too.
No, you just gotta start with. Well, I'm not gonna comment on the bathroom thing, but you gotta do your morning and evening push-ups. That'll get rid of all of it, and then some sit-ups if you can handle it.
I went to the gym Saturday morning because I couldn't help but eat them Friday night because in the media center they quite literally serve Martinsville hot dogs for dinner. So
that doesn't surprise me.
I had 6 just on Sunday. So Chuck was there all 3 days. Seth was there Saturday and Sunday, and I was a road crew guy. I was a pit crew member. Seth was a road crew guy. Chuck was all of it.
Yeah, I had 10 on Saturday because the lines are a lot shorter on Saturday.
Oh, well, yeah, really?
Yeah.
I bet when it's 40 degrees and there's 12 people there.
I thought there was a decent crowd on Saturday.
There was a decent crowd, but it was
very cold. It was very cold.
Yeah. Chuck was big media boy this weekend. How was that?
It was really cool. It was way more fun than it was last fall at the Roval. Part of that has to do with the track you're at. It's a lot more. Easier. Obviously it's a lot smaller, so it's easier to get to from one place to another in a shorter amount of time. And there's not nearly as many like boundaries preventing you from getting to certain places in the infield. And you don't really run out of places to like just stand out there and watch if you just want to watch the action, not from the media center. So I bounced around there was always an open pit box in turn 1. There was always at least 1, if not 2. There's always 2 because there's always one at the start finish line. So there was always 2, if not 3 on the front stretch. And there was the pit entrance in turn 3. There's never any pit boxes there. So there was quite a few places for me to like stand and watch. So that part was cool. I got to, cover the race while also getting to take the race in as from the fans' perspective, kind of, I guess. And number 2, I was just kind of way more comfortable in the role than I was last fall at Charlotte when I had no clue what I was doing. Friday was fun. Saturday was awesome. We'll get to Sunday.
Yeah. Truck race happened. Christian Eckes took home the win. Chuck, you had something. What'd you want to say about the truck race?
Oh, I guess we'll do the truck race and then go back to that other thing. So the truck race was just the truck race was fun, but it was also a truck race. So they were clean for about 150 laps. And then they all lost their minds and forgot how to drive. And
we entered the Roval portion of the race.
Yeah. So, except in this case, they entered the truck series portion of the race. Yeah. So they all just, run each other over, tear a bunch of stuff up, except for the few guys at the front. Talked to a bunch of them after the race. I think my favorite quote from all of it is I asked Bailey Curry, what do you do to stop this from happening every week? And he said, and I quote, I'm not really sure. I guess some guys just got to start getting punched in the mouth. So, which is funny because I don't take Bailey. He was honest, but I don't take Bailey for a guy that's going to go punch somebody in the mouth. I could be wrong. I may not be familiar with Bailey's game.
Maybe it was a call to action, not a I'm about to do this.
Yeah.
Someone should do this.
Hey, man. Hey, look, the Intimidator was having himself a night.
Don't fuck with the Intimidator now.
I guess not.
He had every right to be mad. Stewart wrecked him after the flag, after Timmy didn't really do anything to him. Stewart got bounced. I will say Stewart got ran over a bunch on Friday night, including by Grant Enfinger, which is kind of uncharacteristic because Grant's not usually that guy. But he just dumped Timmy after the race. And Timmy was like, and he said that Stewart was like, well, everybody ran me over all night. And Timmy was like, yeah, that's fine. I'm not everybody. I didn't do it. What are you wrecking me for?
Yeah.
It was just it's a truck race, man. Like Bailey had every right to be mad. If you saw any pictures of his truck, my God, it looked like a World War II war vessel. So, there was a bunch of those like that. His was just the worst.
Truck race at Martinsville. I don't expect any less.
Yeah. So it was about what you expect.
Yeah. The Xfinity race, that was a much more respectable event. I would say. It was a Gibbs versus JRM show. Seth, you had some words.
Yeah. Chandler Smith, could you hit your teammates anymore? Just a question. Like, is it possible? I think he hit them every single opportunity he had. I don't think he missed one. So, if that was the goal, that's good. I'm kind of sick of Chandler Smith at this point.
No hate to Taylor Gray, but I do think he missed the 19 because the 19 wasn't.
Yeah, the 19. Yeah, that's true. So
Taylor's learning. We'll give Taylor some.
Yeah, the other two.
No, like you're right. I was standing there for that part of the race. I was in turn 3, and Chandler just when he caught Sheldon, just like ran him over.
Yeah, like 5 times.
Yeah. And then when Sheldon finally got him back, he because I asked Sheldon about it, he was like, he ran me up the track, and then he was mad at me.
Yeah. And
then the same thing, Eric Almirola touched on it in his press conference. The restart that Eric was on the bottom. Mm-hmm. He was like, I felt like I gave Chandler plenty of room. He was like, I ran him up a little bit in the center of the corner, but it's Martinsville and I'm the car on the bottom. I have the right to. And he was like, but we raced clean. I didn't move him out of the way. I just never could clear him. And then I finally did. And he was like, and then I took the top on the next restart because of how hard it was for me to clear him on the bottom. And he just went in there and kind of used me up.
Well,
and he was like, I didn't really appreciate it. And I made sure he knew that in the next corner because it kind of pissed me off.
Yeah, well, and people gave Eric, trust me, I'm all for giving Eric Almirola shit. I've tweeted this out Saturday night. I said, here we go. Here goes the narrative that Eric Almirola is a good race car driver. And he might be a fine Xfinity driver. He was a tremendously mid cup driver. But I felt it was a smart move for him taking the top judging because he got whoever Chandler was able to hang with him, and I figured Eric being the control car was able to was going to be able to hang tough there. But yeah, Chandler Smith has the main character energy that Eric Almirola has been wanting his entire career, and which is funny because Eric ended up winning the race. But that's kind of the gist I get from Chandler Smith.
He ended up getting rightfully punted into 1 once he moved to 20. So
yeah.
And the only other thing, there was another guy we'll touch on later. 2 other guys we'll touch on later. Brandon Jones missed a shift in front of the whole field, and
that happened, yeah.
And I happened to be recording when it happened. And I wasn't
so cool.
I wasn't looking at back half the field. I'm trying to because I literally just tweeted the 5 JRM cars will restart at the front of the field. And Seth commented that went well because moments later, I'm like, there they go. Oh, there goes the rest of the field piling into turn one. And you just hear.
Hey, well, look, I know you and Brandon Jones are buddies, but like, I'll wreck Brandon Jones at the expense of also taking out Austin Hill.
Yeah, that was satisfying.
And I think all 411 now of our subscribers, appreciate all of you out there, can agree with me on that.
Except that one guy. But he doesn't count.
I don't know what guy you're talking about. Oh, Ryan Mosley.
RPP.
Yeah, Ryan Poopants. 1-800 Ryan Poopants. Call him with complaints. Anyway, before we got anything else about the Xfinity race other than the obvious, which we'll get to later?
Yeah, nothing.
Okay.
The obvious two that we'll get to at a point or time.
Yeah. Before we get into the actual Cup race, Chuck didn't get to say his piece about last week's race. And also Elton Sawyer came out with some real head-ass comments. Only good thing Elton Sawyer's ever done is run that Tennessee Vols car, let me tell you. He came out this week, and I'm paraphrasing because I can't read, so I just wrote it down in my own words. We didn't want to make the call at that point in the race. It's speaking of Denny Hamlin's jumping the restart.
So he followed it up with saying if it had been something like lap 10 or lap 50, we would have called it. So obviously not an ideal situation. It's really complicated if you dig into it, but ultimately it's embarrassing for the sport that we can't call a black and white rule correctly. And now that we've called it incorrectly, we've opened ourselves up to a can of worms for the rest of the year that we have to deal with because our sanctioning body is incompetent. So then if you want to come out and admit on Tuesday afternoon, yeah, we messed up, that's fine. We appreciate accountability. What's not okay is when you then follow that up with saying, but, if it had been earlier in the race, we would have just called it. Because at that point, you're just openly admitting, yeah, we know he essentially cheated the rules. We just don't have the balls to officiate our own rule book properly.
What doesn't make sense too is I think I said this last week. I can't remember, but someone brought up the fact that it's lap 10. They have more time to review it and come to a more definite answer, I guess. But they have no problem reviewing yellow line calls at the end of the race and the race being over. They're every part of his argument or his defense of their call at the end of their non-call. It was Swiss cheese. The whole thing was Swiss.
They also have no problem reviewing the car itself and making a call determining that it was illegal and stripping the win. They don't have a problem doing that either.
Well, what frustrates me is like sports fans. We spent all damn week saying, why didn't they make the call? And then you look at an example of like UConn versus Iowa. I was watching that game and they made the call there at the end, the foul against Gabby Marshall because of the false screen.
Which was a foul.
Yeah, exactly. And everybody's up in arms. You can't call it at that point in the game. You can't call it at that point in the game. It's the same dumb motherfuckers that are sitting here saying, well, you got to call it. You got to call Denny jumping. You can't. You got to pick one side of the fence. It's just did
they let that go at a different point in the game? By any chance?
I don't know.
That's the thing.
I'm just saying it. Well, and I'm just saying that this is a common thing among all sports fans that just we always have to complain about whatever. But then also the officiating of nearly all sports are
vastly inconsistent.
Yes.
But I will wrap up by saying it's the same thing, but we basically have a handicap in our sport because not only is it written as a black and white rule, it's painted on the racetrack as black and white. And if you can clearly see it, there's no reason we should be calling it as a ball and strike call rather than a black and white call. Yeah. Because what they ultimately do is take their black and white rules and they make it 75 shades of gray, and nobody knows what the rule actually is anymore because they pick and choose when and how they want to officiate it, and it's embarrassing.
Well, what's frustrating
is... That's my piece, and I'm done now.
They all but about admitted that, we're not denying necessarily that it was a penalty, but, we just weren't going to call it at that point. And it's like
Joey Logano won Richmond.
I mean, you can scream at the sun all you want. I don't know what to tell you about that one. Give Rickett Smith his Talladega win back if it's legal in the last lap, as Andy Petrie said. So I don't know. Bob, he actually gave Seth some good insight. Do you remember anything Bob told you? Bob Pockris during the tweet up gave you some good learnings.
Yeah. It sounded a little bit like playing defense for NASCAR, but
he brought up some very good points.
He brought up I don't remember anything he exactly said, and so I'm not going to try and quote Bob since I don't remember exactly what he said. But essentially, Bob started going down like several rabbit holes, not rabbit holes, but like just schools of thought of like, okay, if you do this, this is what happens. If you do this, this is what happens. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I guess it's not as black and white as maybe I want it to be. But like, he still jumped the start. And it's like really obvious. Now, the point that Bob was really trying to make that I did agree with was anything to give the leader an advantage that's been earned is fair. I don't mind that. But it's also just like we've done everything. If the sanctioning body's going to come back now and say it's okay to break the rules because the leader needs to have an advantage, when we've spent the past, how many years has it been since 2009? 14, 15 years trying to get rid of the leader's advantage. That's all we've been doing since like 2008, 9, 10. Been getting rid of an advantage you built up on merit. And now all of a sudden we're like, yeah, so you can just like totally break the rules to get that advantage back. It sounds like to me we've got to the point where we kind of realize this is ridiculous and we've done everything in our power to make it ridiculous. And instead of just like going back and doing what we used to, when NASCAR was really popular, we're just gonna say fuck our own rules. That's the way it feels to me. I don't know. Maybe I'm off base, but that's just kind of the way it feels to me.
You're catering to a different kind of fan now. They're never going to go back to a single file restart because there's a portion of the fan base that'll hate it. And
there's a portion of the fan base that'll hate it, but
the problem is that portion is the part that they'll do anything to please, which is the chaos fan.
The problem is we're billing ourselves as a chaos series, and then we put on races like we did last night where nothing happened. And we do that ad nauseum right now. Like it's either everything happens or absolutely nothing happens. And we tend to lean on the side of nothing happening if you look at the past year. And like, great. You have this Netflix show. It's done good. You got some good ratings. You did 2 super speedway races back to back to start the season. Great. Who's going to stick around for this shit? And then on top of that, you got a controversy with how you just restart the race. People are going to be like, dude, this is dumb. I'm not watching this. Yeah. And it's not helpful. If you, at least at the very least, if you do things more honestly, I guess is the way I'm going to have to put it. If you run your series more honestly and people will at least be able to pick up on that. If everything else looks a little boring or something like that, they'll be like, all right, look, they're doing it. They'll get the feeling that they're doing it right. And I feel like right now they're not going to get that feeling. Like, I don't know how you could.
Yeah. It's a can of worms that I wish we would have gotten a definite shut on because
they'll never fully admit they were wrong.
That's
why we still run 670 horsepower.
Yeah. and getting into Martinsville, the actual race.
The Cookout 400.
I'm going to be completely honest with you. Y'all can talk ad nauseum about the short track package all you want. I'm done. There's nothing I'm going to say. There's no groundbreaking information that I'm going to give you that way smarter people and way more in tune people know about the sport. I'm not going to tell you anything different. I've said my piece. I've said everything there is to say about this fucking short track package. It frustrates the hell out of me. If Martinsville wasn't the closest track to me, I wouldn't go to it. But because I'm sick in the head and addicted to this shit, I go to Martinsville, I sit down on the couch and watch this bullshit that they've been trying to sell us for the past 3 seasons. And, we all know the problem. We all know it's tires. We all know it's horsepower. And I'm done. I'm sick of talking about it. So y'all can say whatever you want with it, but I'm done.
Take us away, Seth. You go first.
Well, all right. I'm not going to say the line verbatim. Because we all know all right, fine. They need to put more fucking horsepower in the cars. That's what they need to do. And that fucking hard. See, I'm not even enthusiastic about it anymore. It's not even fun. It's not interesting because, again, it didn't take a freaking rocket scientist to figure out that everything they did to this car was going to make the racing worse at our best tracks. Like it should not have taken a rocket scientist to figure this out. And apparently it's still not taking a rocket scientist to figure. We know the problem with this car. We know it. And then we say it's too expensive. Well, golly gee. Now, whose fault was that? Oh, yeah, NASCAR's. And why can't we fix it? Oh, it'll be too expensive. Well, maybe the teams can just reallocate some money since that's all they do anytime we cut money anyway. They don't ever put it in the bank and just say, yeah, we're just not going to spend this money. They say, nope, we're going to take it to the dyno. We're going to do this. We're going to do that, whatever. Not the dyno, the fucking aero, wind tunnel, whatever. All they do is just reallocate money. So if you tell them, hey, by the way, this new expense is coming up, they're just going to say, hey, all that other shit we don't need to do. We're just going to put that back into the engines, or we're going to put that into getting our mechanical package back now that you've fixed everything. I don't get it. And this whole, again, it's the whole NASCAR. We will not admit we were wrong at any point. We will not do that. I mean, I guess technically they did. They're like, okay, yeah, so we don't need a diffuser. That was it. That's all they did. We didn't try a new transaxle. We didn't add horsepower. We will not admit that for some reason that we need wide ass, low profile tires. I'm sorry. What racing series? What other than like sports cars, which are basically the modern day stock car, I would argue. What other racing? Okay, F1, but their racing sucks too, and they have no tire wear. Why would we model ourselves after that? Give me some thick ass fucking tires that wear in here, and give me a dependent rear suspension. I don't know what you call this. Just a regular rear suspension, not an independent one, a regular one. There's too much. There's too much, and also not enough adjustability in the cars. Like we watched yesterday, every single car run the same speed at the end of this race. William Byron was stuck. I say stuck. He ran behind the 3-car of Austin Dillon for like 50 laps. At no point did Chase Elliott even kind of get close to him. If you get stuck behind a lap car in any other car we've ever run, the guy behind you is going to catch you. And it never happened. They were all running the same speed forever. It was awful. It was awful. Everybody in the top 10, I mean, I guess the whole field, but especially the top 10, you could see it. They didn't do anything. You couldn't do anything. Byron made a couple passes coming in. Like they made a lot of ground up on the pit lane and then pitting early that one time and having warmer tires than everybody else there. And he was able to take advantage of it. Kudos to William Byron. He found a millimeter when that was only thing you could find, but that was the only thing that happened. And it was terrible. And I'm really, really sick of watching my second favorite racetrack be just awful. Okay, I'm done.
Well, everything you said is true.
I know that.
So we all do.
I'm sorry.
We all do. I mean, watching it from the infield was probably worse because I can only see part of the track and I'm watching them come by in the same order. And I think this would be a fair argument to say probably in the Gen 6, especially at the end of the Gen 6, maybe the two best races of the year, if not two of the four best races of the year, were Martinsville and Bristol every year.
Yeah.
And they're now two of the worst with this car.
Yeah.
I'm going to read you this since I have this knowledge available to me. Average lap time across the entire race for the entire field. Fastest average lap time was Kyle Larson with a 21:03. The slowest was Josh Williams with a 21:36. Across the entire 400 plus overtime laps of that race, their average lap time was separated by 0.3 of a second, which included an 189 lap green flag run. That is freaking awful. That's not even racing. That's a parade show with loud, boring vehicles that aren't race cars because they don't race. They just kind of drive around in a circle. They are what the haters say NASCAR stereotypically is what this car is. This car proves every stereotypical NASCAR hater correct because all they do is drive in a freaking circle and they don't do anything. They don't pass. They can't pass. And it's not just horsepower. It's not just the tires. It's everything. It's the entire car. The entire car sucks. It just needs, if they want to keep it for intermediates and whatever and slap some horsepower in it, fine. At short tracks, horsepower isn't going to fix it. I'm convinced. If you put 1,000 horsepower in these cars, wouldn't fix it. I don't think it would. I don't think if you made the tires narrower, it would fix it. I think it's the entire thing. And you have to fix all of it. And they're never going to because they have this God complex that they cannot be wrong, like you said. So now we're in this box that pisses me off because we spent so many years in the Gen 6 asking for short tracks because they were the best races of the year. Hell, even Richmond was enjoyable. Richmond is like naturally boring, but it was a fun race. Loudon was fun race. These tracks that are natural, Phoenix doesn't count. Tracks that were naturally fun or boring were like fun because of how good that car was on short tracks. And we get a car now. We have more short tracks. We're going to have Iowa this year. And it's going to be one and done. It's going to be the worst race ever. And we are trying.
Well, it already sold out, to be fair. So it'll probably come back.
We'll see.
Yeah.
They're at the same time, we're in a spot where the roots of the sport are dying. And we're trying to promote grassroots racing. Grassroots racing is short tracks. And if you can't make short track product look good at the highest level, these new fans that you're attracting are never going to turn around and invest it back into the roots of the sport and go support that side of it. And if they don't figure this shit out, we're going down a path that's not going to be fixable because you're inadvertently killing the lower levels of the sport because you're too incompetent to put on a halfway decent race at the highest level. Buddy, you look like you have something to say, so say it.
Everything about NASCAR and the sport of stock car racing, and I say that because of Cars Tour and things of that, and late model racing, grassroots racing. Everything about it is good and enjoyable and healthy, except for the NASCAR Cup Series. I've tried to find some middle ground. I've tried to meet them in the middle. My favorite part about the next gen car is that there was a point in time where we didn't have it. And that's it. Goodyear is the worst company in the world that hasn't dumped chemicals into the ocean. And that's my piece about it.
I mean, yeah, I'll just kind of finish up and say if anybody that watched that race was extremely dissatisfied and has never watched any other series in NASCAR and would like to see what a good race looks like, go on YouTube, go to NASCAR's YouTube, and find the full race replay of Saturday night's race. Because the Xfinity race, once again, was outstanding. It was everything you want in a Martinsville race. There was tire fall off. They were sliding around, brakes blowing, using each other up a little bit, but not like wrecking each other. It was short track racing at its finest. You want to see another good race? Go to Flow Racing's YouTube and find the Cars Tour highlights from Hickory Saturday night. Heck, the Truck Series, while we've kind of accepted that it's the Truck Series and they're going to wreck the hell out of each other every week, it's not bad racing. They just cross the line. But to your point, the series that we're supposed to showcase as this is the top, this is the pinnacle, this is where your goal is to get to here and showcase to the world how good you are. You get there and it's a complete dud. And it trickles down the line and accidentally gives everything else a bad reputation that doesn't deserve it, because there's a portion of the fan base and the eyeballs that don't go to anything else, and they make their opinions solely based on what they see on Sunday. And what they see on Sunday is, out of 10 series that I could rip off the top of my head, the worst by far. It sucks. It's awful. There's maybe I can name 2 or 3 tracks that the racing has, you could argue, has gotten better with the next gen car. And that's only because they happen to be tracks that we were racing 550 horsepower at with the old car. So nothing has really gotten better at all. And they use the cost excuse. Oh my God, the cost of this, the cost of that. That excuse has long run out when you have Denny Hamlin and Brad Keselowski and people at Hendrick and everybody else coming out and saying, yeah, that's not true. Our costs haven't gone down from the old car at all. And it wouldn't cost us any money to try and fix this situation, because to y'all's point, was it you, buddy, that said they just put it somewhere else? Seth. Seth, to your point, they just put it somewhere else. They don't spend any less money. So
we're spending $40 million on charters.
Why do we continue to recycle the same shit?
We're spending $40 million on charters. Do not ever speak to me about your fucking cost. Fuck you if that's your argument point.
Yeah, and real quick, I want to say there seems to be this narrative developing here that not on this show, but there seems to be a narrative developing that they all run the same speed solely because they all have the same thing. And at a track like maybe Las Vegas or something, that might be true. But here, if you just literally, I beg NASCAR, try to make the cars like they should be. Try to do something, because even if they're all the same car, if you make it hard to get into the corner at Martinsville and hard to get up off the corner, the best drivers are going to be able to do something with that. That is what we're missing right now. Everyone just drives as hard as they can into the corner. I'm specifically talking about Martinsville right now, but everyone just drives as hard as they can into the corner every single time and jumps on the gas as quick as they can. There's zero room, and you can cook the front tire into the corner and you don't miss the corner. You're not going to wheel hop it. This is why nothing happens at a Martinsville race now, because there's no zero. We talked about there not being a penalty a couple years ago. It's gotten worse now. There's even less of a penalty for missing the corner. I don't think I saw anybody. I sit in 3 and 4, so I watch it all day. I don't think I saw anybody miss the corner except John Hunter Nemechek when he hit, broke something and hit the wall. The only guy I saw miss the corner all day, except for maybe someone getting hit a little hard one time. And also, you can't even barely get into someone and move him up the racetrack. Chase Elliott tried to move William Byron on the last lap or second to last lap or whatever yesterday. Couldn't do it. Got him to him harder than I realized he did. couldn't do it. It didn't move him. It just pushed him forward.
Same thing Joe Logano did the very first Martinsville race with the next gen car. He hit the hell out of William Byron, didn't do anything.
Yep.
So I don't know. The NASCAR Cup Series is definitely the hardest series in NASCAR right now. But it's hard in the sense that you got to eat an ice cream cone in the Sahara Desert, not because it's actually skillful.
And I'll kind of say this too. I kind of talked about it earlier. There's another graphic I have here. Just to put this in perspective, if somebody doesn't understand the whole lap time thing. If you took the top 15 cars based on average lap time throughout 400 and a few extra laps that they ran on Sunday, they would have all, if it had gone green the entire way, this average lap time thing, they would have all finished within the start finish line to the exit of turn 4. All top 15 cars. Yeah. They basically would have been like 4 wide. If you want proof as to what Seth was saying, how they just mat the gas, go watch Chase Elliott's onboard from that overtime restart. And you could hear it. When they come off turn 4, keep in mind, he's got 100-lap-old tires. He just floors it. And the 24 drives away from him, flooring it off the top. And they're going to claim that they've tried this, take the diffuser off the short track car. Honestly, it's made it worse. Because now the car behind, in my opinion, is even at more of a disadvantage because they don't have the downforce to stay with the guy when the front end of the car wants to go up towards the wall, because the front end and the rear end don't work together at all. Yeah. And I asked a couple guys yesterday, does it feel any different? I asked Ryan Preece and Chase Briscoe, 2 guys that have a lot of short track knowledge. They know what they're talking about, especially Ryan Preece. And Chase said, no, it feels the same. You might get a little more loose off the corner, but it doesn't help the car behind at all. And Ryan basically said, no, it's worse. And Kyle Busch in his presser on Saturday said, no, it's worse. Like, again, we've been saying this for 2 years, but when the guys that drive the race cars and have more knowledge than any of the people running the series ever will are saying, yeah, this is worse, maybe you should take what they're giving you and learn from it.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll make another minor adjustment in the off season in hopes that it's the big fix.
I'm going to close this with, I guess, this one tidbit I do have is that the smaller diffuser wouldn't, like, we upped the horsepower because the diffuser wouldn't work because they're going too slow on the mile and halves. And so the diffuser didn't do its job, and so we had to increase the horsepower. And it only makes sense that a smaller diffuser at a lower speed track is going to have the same effect that it did when we were going slower on a big track. If I worded that word, but I think you get what I'm saying.
I get what you're saying.
So, yeah.
Well, it also comes back to the analogy you had. I can't remember what episode it was, but we started with an unbalanced car.
Yes.
Because that's the way we built it. Yes. And then just instead of adding, we got to add some downforce to the front somehow. I think that's part of what we need to do. Also, we need to do all the obvious things, but ultimately we need to find a way to balance this car a little more. And because, like you said, in that one, we just keep taking from the back and not replenishing it everywhere. And guess what? It's not doing anything that we need it to do.
Yeah. Other than that, Joe Logano, aero blocked son of a bitch, led the race with 100 lap 80 tire, lap old 80.
He went half the race on his left side tires.
Yeah, that. Getting into not the short track package. It was NASCAR's 40th. Hendrick's 40th anniversary to their very first win. But you would think it, according to Twitter, Fox celebrated it more than they celebrated NASCAR's 75th. I texted my brother today, and for those of y'all who don't know, he works in the film industry. and I was asking him how how checks work for like supporting roles and like residuals for like, you know, when this race gets played on YouTube, because I want to get paid for my supporting role in the Cookout 400 benefiting Hendrick Motorsports, a NASCAR production. I don't know who I got to talk to get my residuals and my checks for being at the race, and my likeness possibly being used in this scripted event. But I would like my money. I was absolutely flabbergasted and just completely shocked. And every word that means the same thing as that Daniel Suarez was allowed to lead the race as long as he did. I was surprised he was not black flagged for going off script. And yeah, I don't know. Obviously I'm being a little facetious, but it's a little sus.
I mean, to be fair though, this is like not even the best run Hendrick Motorsports has ever had in one race.
It's not.
They did have a 1, 2, 3, 4 that one time.
It's not, but it's just obviously, like I said, I'm being facetious, but it was kind of funny.
I mean, we literally joked about the script leaking on the way up there.
Yeah, we did. So. William Byron, of course, wins. Chase Elliott finishes second. Kyle Larson finishes third.
He did not finish second.
Who?
Chase Elliott.
Who finished second?
Kyle Larson.
Oh, I'm sorry. I got it mixed up. They look the exact same.
They all look the same.
Yeah. Obviously.
Which of the 4 cars look the best?
I don't care.
Alex's.
I think Williams actually, but I don't know. Nice. I think Kyle's.
I like Kyle's, but
if Chase's didn't have a green number outline,
they should have made the other blue elements on Kyle's car red. I think that would have made it pop more. Maybe I'm crazy.
I didn't look too hard at it.
Yeah.
William Byron is people are comparing him to the next Jimmy Johnson. I think that's a wild accusation. I mean, you can't deny. I mean, you can't deny the cars got easier to drive and William Byron got exponentially better. So
I said the same thing about Kyle Larson at Martinsville, and you scoffed.
I mean, yeah, probably I did.
Kyle Larson was not good at Martinsville until this car came along.
I mean, I'm very aware of that. like
has to be some kind of correlation.
Yeah. I don't know. Yet another storybook ending for Hendrick Motorsports. That's all I gotta say.
I mean, I understand. Odd. I understand, and like I said, I also joked about the script leaking before the race, but I don't know. Is it that surprising that Hendrick Motorsports would be really good at Martinsville of all places?
I mean, no, but
I mean, what is this? Their fifth win there in the past 5 years?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not that surprising.
Yeah.
So my thought on it is obviously I don't think it was scripted.
Let's be clear. I don't really believe it was scripted.
It's just like
these are jokes here. Like,
so yeah,
we saw like a terrible race. I got to make some light of it.
I know. So I'll get back to my issue because I'm going to circle around. So obviously, like the whole weekend, there was a lot of talk about it, like the whole celebration and the fan zone. There was Hendrick Motorsports stuff everywhere, you know, with the 40th anniversary red, and they had the 1,500 employees off of turn 2. And it was even, in a way, it was kind of even more apparent being in the infield and covering the race, because obviously you guys don't know this because you didn't go through the tunnel unless it was put on social media. But when you walk through the pedestrian tunnel,
yeah,
painted on the wall was every single one of their 28 wins at the track. They had a special press conference Sunday morning with Gordon and Jeff Bodine. Rick Hendrick was supposed to drive the pace car. Obviously, the cars had their own special deal. So, like, the whole 9 yards, like, everything was, and rightfully so, they've earned it, in celebration of their 40th anniversary. And the story, how it started, that was going to be their last race until Jeff won it, is cool. And you know what? Is it surprising that they won the race? No. Is it surprising that they finished 1, 2, 3? It's Hendrick Motorsports. Not really, because I mean, if you had told somebody that on Thursday night that Hendrick was going to finish 1, 2, 3, they'd go, "Yeah, I believe it." I guess like the biggest issue is like Fox parading it, because I heard the same thing, even from the guys like my buddy Trey that was covering the race with me, who watched from the media center. Fox just like glorified it all race long. And I get there was nothing to talk about, but at the same time,
it's like they practiced it.
As the TV outlet, the TV coverage of the race, you're unbiased. And you doing that makes you seem biased. And it, even if I don't think they are, but it looks terrible for a company that already looks terrible when they cover a NASCAR race. Like,
I mean,
that's the biggest issue is like, if at the track, Hendrick wants to do all these things to celebrate it, fine. They've earned the right to do that. They're the most successful organization in the sport. However, when the unbiased parties are making it seem as though they are biased, that is where the issue comes in. And that's the part I have a problem.
It's NASCAR on Fox, so of course they're going to talk about NASCAR Motorsports. Just saying.
Yeah. No.
I'm not like there. At this point, I think Fox is actively hurting the reputation of the sport.
Yes.
I mean, yeah.
Like, and it
which is absolute shame, because you have someone like Kevin Harvick in there and Mike Joy, who does care about the sport, or did care about the sport. He's probably just mailing it in at this point because of what he's got to deal with in the between him and Harvick. But yeah.
Well, and I don't even think it has all to do with Clint. It's the production.
Like, wasn't Clint openly like hating on Martin Truex Jr. last week? Like, that's not a good look for the broadcast.
Yeah.
Yes, he was actually.
Yeah.
I didn't get to say that, but like, here's my other tiny piece from last week. Dude, Clint Boyer sat up there and like hated on Martin for being mad. He was literally like, "Oh, I don't know what Martin's mad about." Da, 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 da.
Well, I mean, Clint's friends with Danica, so
and
if we saw those comments last week, that makes a whole lot of sense.
And then like he's sitting up there actively defending, like he literally was like, "Yeah, well, Denny rolls early, but I think you should be," like, he's defending the fact that he obviously broke the rules. Like, you look like,
yeah,
you know. But the production is so bad. Like, if the camera that they showed on, I won't call it the big screen, but the scoring pylon is what they showed on TV, we had no clue who came to pit road because they cut away from it as soon as the 9 fake going down pit road. So if that's what was actually on TV, which I'm curious to know if it was, that's like awful. Like the last pit stop, what I saw, because I was waiting to see who was going to come down pit road because I was just past the start finish line, is it looks like the 9 comes down and then they cut away. That's it. That's all we saw. So if that was the TV angle, good God, what are you watching? What was more important than that?
Well, the 3 cars that were already gonna win the race didn't pit, so we already knew what was gonna happen.
They didn't cut to them. They cut to like something in the crowd.
Oh, okay.
Well, and what's asinine about it is Fox has terrible directing and terrible production, and then make sure to get on their booth to only watch the monitors.
Yeah.
Dude, like, really? We would like I so want Kevin Harvick to get sick of this quickly and just be like, "Fuck you guys, I'm watching the race. And then I'm going to tell y'all what's going on and you can cut to it."
Yeah.
Because it's ridiculous. What is even the point of going to the track if they have to watch the monitors? They all missed Denny jumping the start last week because Fox is terrible. And then if that's the case, I'm sure they didn't know who pitted because they were probably watching pit lane at that point. I mean, what else is there to do? But it's just like, I remember, so I should have brought this up last week and kind of didn't realize that it happened since I was there and everything. But yeah, I don't understand it. Like, I remember what's stupid about, I don't think this has always been the case, because I remember at the start of the pandemic, there being a like noticeable drop in quality in the booth. And obviously that year with Fox, it was just Mike Joy and Jeff Gordon. It wasn't great, but I remember there being like it being noticeable. Like they did not notice things until TV cut to it. And that was not like, that wasn't an every week kind of thing before the pandemic. And then and then we got to NBC and it was like that too. And then immediately the first week that they got back in, because they came to Charlotte and that's where they were broadcasting from, it was noticeably better from what I remember. I had to watch it later, but I remember it being noticeably better because they were watching the race. And now for some reason, it's like mandatory that they watch the monitors. I don't remember this always being a thing. I swear this was not always a thing. Like, obviously they paid attention to the monitors because they would be like circling shit and look like, oh, hey, look right there on your screen and you can see this. But I don't remember it being like an all the time thing like it is now.
Well,
maybe I'm crazy.
The monitors used to be in front of them, and then the window was right there to look out. Now they are not facing the track and looking at the monitors.
That might explain it.
My best example of them only watching the monitors being a bad thing is this quote right here. I'm going to go ahead and start, but it's going to take a second for me to actually say something. So I'm going to start now. Oh, we got Kyle Busch around off turn 2 from Phoenix. Clint Boyer sat there. That.
Yeah.
That's your best example.
Other than that, I think that's all I got for the Cup race.
Yeah, I've said my piece.
Not a real damn thing to say about it.
Put it on the bitch scale.
Yeah, Peter asked me what Saturday night's race was on the bitchin' scale.
Shout out to Peter for that one.
Shout out to Peter.
I'm mad he
Big
didn't
Motor
come to
Small
tweet
Blade
up.
Special guest Peter Strada.
Oh, Peter Strada.
Yeah, speaking of Peter, where were you at the tweet up, my guy?
Yeah, you're supposed to clown Seth about something.
What was he going to clown me about?
That Big Motor Small Blade is now the second rated podcast or show on this channel. On tour has taken the cake.
I'm going to defend Seth.
How's this my fault?
So
clearly it's an editing issue.
Peter and I were talking about
this. You edited the podcast last week.
Peter and I were talking about this on pit road pre-race on Friday because I met Noah Lewis and Trey Lyle was with me and we were talking to some other guys. And I was like, yeah, so Buddy's been parading the fact that On Tour is now the most watched show on the channel. And I'm just like, Buddy, you realize you're on both of them, right? Like, this is like,
that's the joke.
And I told Peter that you were like, yeah, but it's bragging rights. And he's like, over himself. And I was like, apparently.
You guys just don't understand like humor. Like clearly, I was proud of the show. If you haven't watched On Tour yet, go watch On Tour. It's a great show.
Apparently everyone did. Like,
hey man, they did. But I was proud of the show, and then bragging rights, baby. Y'all over here on Big Motor Small Blade
this week from history, even though I wasn't there.
Look, y'all on Big
Motor. We don't have fun on Big Motor Small Blade. That's an On Tour thing. We don't do that here.
Y'all on Big Motor Small Blade, y'all need to step your game up. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I'll tell you why. It's because when we do On Tour, we have fun things to talk about. When we do Big Motor Small Blade, we have to talk about the NASCAR Cup Series.
I did say Chuck's like Chuck said something about complaining. I go, this isn't the Big Motor Small Blade podcast. We don't complain here.
Yeah.
We're not going to try.
I hate to break it to you. I watched it 152 times. So.
Oh, dadgummit.
That's fine.
That's fine.
Views of you.
I couldn't bear to watch us talk about Richmond 150 times. Otherwise, I would.
Okay.
You watched it how many times?
152.
Well, you're still missing 64 views there, bud.
It still beat the last podcast.
Hey, Chuck, I hate to break it to you, but he's Buddy.
Yeah, I didn't say buddy. I said bud.
Okay,
Bud is short
anyway.
for Buddy.
No, y'all know better. Anyway,
I don't, apparently.
Okay, let's do the damn thing. The rundown from down under.
The final time onto the front stretch. He comes to the checkered flag. He's won the very first street race in NASCAR. Thank you, guys.
All right, the rundown from down under. Shane had fun this weekend. Nobody else might have had fun
watching Shane.
Yeah, that was a good time. We forgot to mention it last week, but they opened up a exhibit on the Chicago street race, and they got Shane's helmet and his fire suit in
NASCAR
there.
Hall of Fame.
In the NASCAR Hall of Fame, yes. So, I mean, I don't think I think it's a true statement to say Shane van Gisbergen's in the NASCAR Hall of Fame. Congratulations.
Class of 2024.2.
Yeah, that's right. I'm real proud of him. 3 cup starts, 2 top 10s, a win.
Look,
sounds like a Hall of Fame career to me.
33.3% win percentage in the Cup Series, I'm pretty sure is higher than
astronomical.
It's a lot higher than I think anybody else. So, good on Shane.
Yeah, it was a great career. He had a hell of a time.
Yeah.
But anyway, getting into the actually, hold on. I didn't want to say this. I was watching a stand-up bit with Shane Gillis. Well, I was watching it with Tyler. And Tyler brought up a good point because Shane Gillis in that stand-up bit said he went to Australia and he's like, Australia has like no exports. Like nowhere down there. Australia, New Zealand, none of them have exports. Shane van Gisbergen exists, all right? He's definitely an export that we are glad to have.
What prompted that statement from him?
He was talking about just going overseas and performing overseas. And I don't know. Watch the damn thing. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. Got to give Tyler credit. He's the one who said that. So
fair enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
You should do a podcast with him sometime.
SVG is Down Under's #1 export for sure.
No, he's New Zealand's export, and I don't know if you noticed or not. There's this thing called the Lord of the Rings.
Shane van Gisbergen is bigger than the Lord of the Rings.
I'm pretty sure the Lord of the Rings made a lot more money than Shane van Gisbergen, though.
Well, they haven't made that much merch yet that I can't buy yet because they haven't made it.
Okay, I'm just gonna send you like some links to some Lord of the Rings merch later.
Shane. They haven't made enough Shane van Gisbergen merch, is what I'm saying.
Oh, and you're just gonna buy. You're gonna buy all of it.
Yeah, exactly.
I just want that freaking hat that he wears.
So he ran a race at Martinsville this weekend. He had a damn respectable run.
I would say it was awesome. Awesome run.
It was an awesome run. He ran back after the top. He ran 10th to 15th the entire race, pretty much, except for when he got shuffled by Jeb Burton.
Jesse Love.
And Jesse Love. Jeb Burton is like Shane van Gisbergen's like, it's like if you're watching like one of them safari films on like Discovery Channel. And
yeah, I'm following.
And like Jeb Burton is Shane's like natural, like natural enemy in the wild.
Okay.
Because Shane's good and like level-headed and like makes sense, and Jeb is bad and not level-headed, and nothing he says makes a lick of sense. And nothing he does makes a lick of sense.
Yeah, that's. I guess I don't know. Is this the great analogy you had today?
No, that was not my great analogy.
Oh,
I had
okay.
today.
Okay.
Anyway, Shane did say, he said this, he came over radio after getting shuffled out of the pack. He goes, it's fun as hell. And that's, I mean, yeah, it looked like he was having a great time. And he showed everyone that, you know, I tussle with the best of them. Jeff Burton moved him out of the way. He moved him right back. Jack.
Shane literally does run every race exactly the same way. He kind of gets his footing. I don't know if he's getting his footing or just waiting around the first like half or plus of the race.
Probably a little bit both.
Probably a little bit both, especially now since he's, you know, a little less familiar with all this. And just kind of waits and then just goes. And once he goes, he looks unstoppable. Like, I think he probably could have finished like 6th in this race if he hadn't gotten shuffled out.
Yeah.
As bad as
he was quick there at the end.
Yeah.
6th is a bit of a stretch, but
I mean, he got to 11th.
Look, Chuck, no one fucking asked you.
Well,
yeah, don't ask the guy. Don't ask the guy that talked to him post race.
Hey, hang on. Yeah, Chuck did. He was graced by Chuck was graced by the presence of our Lord and Savior Shane van Gisbergen. Chuck,
good point.
Tell me about his aura.
Like exactly how you would think he goes about interviews. He's just like
godly.
He's just like, yeah, it was fun. Like he doesn't elaborate much. He just gets to his point. He's always happy.
Did you kneel before him?
No, what? No. So I am professional and like my job.
What's unprofessional about that?
Yeah.
He's Shane van
showing
Gisbergen.
honor for the Shane van the Giz himself.
Never mind.
Did you ask Gizzy if he had a glizzy?
Hell, you asked him a couple too many questions, I thought, to begin with, so might as well slip that one in there, too.
I didn't ask him a couple too many questions.
No,
I asked him 3.
Yeah, that would look like one too many. In my humble opinion. I'm giving you shit. Calm down. Tell me about
Wouldn't
Shane.
you ask him a bunch of questions if you had the opportunity to?
Oh,
good
hell
God.
yes.
Buddy would, never mind. I'm not saying that.
Buddy would never stop.
I'm not going to. So I did ask him like how he enjoyed Martinsville. And he was like, yeah, it was actually like a lot of fun. And then, you know, I asked him.
It is if the car doesn't suck.
I'm not going to go through like word for word everything, but I asked him, you know, what it's been like. I asked him about the Jeb thing and if there's any hard feelings. And he was like, no, like he moved me. I thought it was fun and fair. I got back to him. I moved him back. It was over.
Wait, hang on. Was it you that he said some guys were a little bit rude out there? Was that you? He said that too?
It may have been. I really don't remember.
I feel like it was.
And
funny as shit.
I did ask him. I was like, well, so what's it been like, you know, acclimating to racing in this manner? Because obviously where you're from, guys would get penalized for some of this stuff. What's been the process for you of learning how everybody races and adjusting to that? And he was like, he pretty much was like, yeah, it's definitely a lot different because a lot of guys would get penalized, but here you just kind of run each other over, but it's fun. It's not like too out of line. He said that he didn't think anybody did anything that was like truly like unfair. So yeah, he just seems like such a cool person because he's always smiling. No matter what, he's always smiling. So we have yet to see mad Shane van Gisbergen outside of the race car.
I'm wondering what it's going to take to like make him mad.
Austin Hill moving him a second time.
Yeah, that might do it.
Yeah, that'd probably be lame.
But I mean, he finished 11th.
Yeah.
I'd say 8th. Just because I don't think anybody else was beating a JRM or JGR car. Except for Cole Custer. And Custer finished 8th. So
yeah, I mean, besides the point, I think I think he held his own, which I think was important because we see how these Xfinity races can get at the end and how quickly you can get used up for not a whole lot of reason. And that didn't happen to him. He bided his time, and he, end of the race, he was at his best. And I mean, I think that's all you can ask for, especially coming to a place like Martinsville for the first time. There was another Supercars star over here this weekend for the truck race. Cam Waters, he crashed out of the truck race, but he was here. He had a litany of issues this weekend. So he's running the 60 for Roush, right? Later this year.
We'll see. He was potentially supposed to, but some stuff has changed. He is running a truck at Kansas.
Yes. Okay.
So it is worth noting that after he wrecked out, like, he said, this was so much fun.
Yeah.
Like, same kind of thing Shane said. Like, he said he wanted to come over here and try it and see if he would like it, and he loved it. Yeah. I think Trey did his interview. I know some other people did too, but he was asked, like, you got used up out there some. How'd you feel about it? He's like, I don't mind. Like, it was really fun.
So I'm interested to see what you just brought up, what the breaking point will eventually be, because I feel like there is a sort of purity to the type of racing they do over there that we have lost that in NASCAR. And I feel like that's going to get tiring for some of these guys, and the newness and the funness is going to wear off a little bit eventually, just like it has for a lot of our drivers and fan base. So it'll be interesting to see when that happens for Shane, and for, if Cam Waters makes the jump or continues to do these one-offs.
Or if Brody Kostecki is ever allowed back in America to drive a race car again.
What do you know that we don't know? Why is Brody?
He's allowed back in America. It's just, if anybody's been following the whole deal with him and his Supercars team.
Oh yeah. Well, he's returning to Supercars.
Yeah, but then it was also announced today in another twist that two more of the sponsors that he had completely backed out of motorsports entirely today, including the one that sponsored his RCR car last year.
I'll be damned. Wow. All right.
What did he do to piss people off?
And they're citing, like, he never said anything, but the entire time the team was citing health issues as why he wasn't driving in Supercars. And now when they announced he was coming back, the team and himself cited it as health issues, but that doesn't add up because Shane came out and was sympathizing with him over the legal issue side. So clearly Shane knows something that, isn't public knowledge. None of it adds up. It's all like,
well, hang on. I know how we could get to the bottom of this. Everybody down in the comments below, tell us what the hell is going on with Brody Kostecki. You guys are our most reliable source for anything, for any imports and exports out of New Zealand and Australia. So please let us know down below.
So I want to use this analogy and then we can move on, because a guy that I work with at Front Stretch, Michael Finley, he's big into all forms of motorsports, especially outside of NASCAR. Like, he's big into open wheel stuff, F1, IndyCar. He's big into supercars. And he tried to give us an analogy, and I'm curious to hear what our folks from down under have to say about this. The analogy he gave would be if okay, I'm trying to remember exactly how I put it. So Petty retired in 1992.
That's correct.
In this case, Scotty Mack is Petty. Retired.
It's a stretch. Okay.
Then in 1994,
Jeff
or
Gordon.
Or 1995, I can't remember the exact year he used, but add up to the timeline. Dale Earnhardt retired after losing the championship to Jeff Gordon.
What kind of wild hypotheticals is this man coming up with?
In this case, Dale Earnhardt is Shane.
Okay, I can get behind this.
And then
Shane is way better than Dale Earnhardt.
And then ahead of the very next
All right,
season.
wait, hey now. I love Shane and all.
Hang on, we're getting off the weeds here. Come on.
And then ahead of the very next season, after winning the championship, DuPont entirely backed out of NASCAR, and Gordon suddenly didn't start the season with Hendrick. Because Coca-Cola entirely backed out of supercars.
Okay, I see what you're talking about. Okay.
Now the Scotty Mac and Petty thing might not exactly align, but like he was a really big deal down there.
Yeah.
And won a lot of stuff, and he did leave a couple of years ago, and then Shane kept winning and Brody came along. So
yeah.
Isn't a lot of the guys leaving and getting out of supercars down to they don't like the car or the tires right now? Isn't that kind of what it's down to?
Oh, wait until they come over here.
Yeah.
I think we should just not let Shane run that cup car.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, keep his win percentage at 33.3 and let him have a good Xfinity career.
And that's solely just for Shane's, that's solely just for Shane's sanity. And we want Shane to have fun, and he deserves better than this cup car we have right now. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, Jeb Burton gave Jeb Burton the old bump and run back, and I don't think I've ever cheered as hard as I did for someone going for 15th. I'll tell you that right now. Yeah. He had a great run. Proud of Shane. Always proud of Shane. Number one New Zealand export right there. Let's move on. Accolades. Sundress dumbass. Who wants to go?
I can go. So Sundress is Shane. Because he's Shane.
Yes, I think that's fair. Yeah. I would have to concur. Yeah.
Chuck, I left you one, so
yeah, mine's a little. I want to elaborate on it though. So, buddy, do you want to go first?
No, I have one I would also like to elaborate on. So
so my Sundress, for those of you wondering why he hasn't been mentioned yet when we talk about the Xfinity race, is Carson Kvapil.
I was saving that one for our other show, our number one rated show on this channel.
Yeah, we'll get to him too on that show. But Carson Kvapil, for anybody that did not know who Carson Kvapil was before Saturday night, well, they sure as hell do now. Because, fun fact, there's been a lot of guys that have made their first Xfinity Series start in a JRM car. List includes Byron, Josh Berry, Chase Elliott, goes on. None of them have ever finished top 5 in their debut, except for Carson Kvapil.
Damn.
Yeah.
Damn.
And he went out there, and he didn't just look good. Dude, he looked outstanding. He had been out there doing it for years. There was that one, and dude, his pit crew. Oh my gosh. Little fact for y'all. They pitted 3 times, and not one of their stops were under 18 seconds.
Yo, wait.
Wow.
Wow.
I was about to defend them since they're a part-time crew, but that's pretty bad.
You know what I could do in
36 seconds.
You know what I could get done in 18 seconds?
I don't even want to know.
I don't want to know the answer to that. Their first stop was 36 seconds because they let the car fall off the jack. Their second
can ask
stop.
My Valentine what I can get done in 18 seconds. No. Don't just keep it rolling.
Their second
don't pay
stop,
that no mind.
Their second stop was around 22 seconds, I think it was.
Improvement.
And their third stop was 18.4.
All right, yeah. And why are you giving them such a hard time?
Well, because the third stop was with 75 laps to go, and they went from 4th to 10th on pit road.
All right. So leave some meat on the bone for on tour, but yeah, Carson Kvapil.
Other than that, Carson
Sundress.
He was out there passing guys that do this every week. I talked to him earlier in the day when I did an interview with him. He was like, yeah, I think I'm going to be a little nervous. Shouldn't be nervous anymore.
Yeah.
And the fact that I'll get into the rest of it on tour, but yeah, Carson, for me, who I've at least known of him. He graduated with my cousin a year ahead of me, so kind of through other people I've known of him for a while, and now talking to him basically every week in the car store because he wins a lot. It was very, very cool to stand there and just watch him drive through the field a couple times. Yeah. And up front, I thought, yeah, he's going to get used up. Held his own, finished fourth. Like, it was a badass moment for me to watch him get to blossom on that stage. So, Sundress, Carson Kvapil, just wanted to elaborate on that a little bit. That was pretty cool to watch.
I agree. I think Sundress of should be the year is going to be this guy, and I apologize if you watched and you did not get a shout out because you definitely deserved it. There was a thread on Twitter a couple weeks ago, and it was a tier list of all the NASCAR YouTubers who have some sort of notoriety that you could ever think of. And our buddy David Land was on there. Obviously the Icebergs, the Black Flags Matter, the E-Steps, guys like that. And through the comments, it was a bunch of debates on, well, why is this person on this tier and this person on that tier? And it was that the only channel that was not listed that was talked about in these comment section. This comment was courtesy of Cook Virus is his Cookie Virus actually is his Twitter handle.
Baller. That's a baller username.
Baller username. And he says, I know it's a small channel, but I really like the Big Motor Small Blade podcast and channel. Their combos are really fun and entertaining. Okay. This man went on a Twitter thread and lied. So that's awesome. So you are our Sundress for the year. So we appreciate, but in all seriousness, thank you so much to Cookie Virus for that comment. It really does mean a lot to us, and our growth of this channel over this year, I can't say it enough. It really does mean a lot, and especially all of you from down under that pay attention. It's one of the coolest things that we could ever thought of happening, and so.
But also,
thank you to that.
There's other podcasts.
And I just want to give a disclaimer here to the folks from down under.
Oh, by the way, folks is Southern drawl. Anyway, keep going.
I mean, they're real Southern.
Sorry. Anyway, I gave that analogy earlier to see what you guys think. If it's completely inaccurate and you guys think it's wrong, since that
it's
is
completely
racing series, please feel free to light me up.
Oh, they will.
Please do.
I'm saying this based off of something someone else has said. I'm willing to be corrected.
That's Chuck Folsom. Anyway,
that was the Buddy Pulley said that, not me.
No.
Or shoot, dadgummit.
There you go.
Me. I said not me.
Can you guys I can't wait for the Cookout Bathurst 1000.
Dude, Cookout's got a stranglehold on these race names right now.
I'm waiting for the NASCAR Cup Series to be rebranded as the Cookout NASCAR Cup Series.
No, just the Cookout Cup Series.
What? Anyway, dumbass Chuck for whatever you just said. Seth, who's your dumbass?
I'm going to go with Sheldon Creed, the other thing from the Xfinity race.
Yeah.
Dude, I like Sheldon Creed. I really do. I want the Mans to win a race. But the problem is Sheldon wants Sheldon to win a race more than anybody else, and he cannot get out of his own way to do so.
Yeah.
And even in a race that it wasn't going to happen, all he did was biff over freaking Sam Mayer, which I guess a JGR car won, so maybe that was job well done. But
if you're gonna totally screw the entire, if you're gonna try to screw the front row, screw the front row. Like, do it. Don't half-ass it. And he half-assed it. So, yeah. Chuck, who's your dumbass?
I don't know. Like, I even tried to prepare this one this week, and like nothing. NASCAR. I guess.
Shout out to Chuck for only being prepared last week when he wasn't on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I am gonna say just why not? I'll just come up with one. The people in the Martinsville Biscuitville drive-through that had to have waited an hour for their food, because when I showed up Sunday morning to go get my biscuit, from the time it took me to pull into my parking spot, walk my chunky self into the store, get my biscuit, order it, be handed my biscuit, and walk back out into my truck, like 3 cars had moved in 2 lines. So those losers might not have even made it to the start of the race, and I was 4 hours early. So, L to those people at Biscuitville. I hope you enjoyed your wasted gas, scrubs. Dumbasses of the week.
Okay. All right. These poor citizens just trying to get a biscuit. Chuck's out here calling them dumbasses. Oh, my God. My dumbass.
I can't fault the logic.
My dumbass is almost every Martinsville cop, because you guys continue to just stand there and do jack diddly dick, and have for the past 10 years I've been at Martinsville, and NASCAR.
NASCAR
for obvious reasons.
NASCAR should just win the year-long award.
I love how I'm the only one that didn't say NASCAR for dumbass this time, and that's my thing.
Yeah.
The Martinsville cops are historically bad, especially when they finally do like direct traffic. They like direct you the complete wrong way.
Yeah.
Through Little Timmy's yard, across the yellow brick road, and you're like, dog, I'm just trying to go to the race.
Dude, we've had many discussions on this podcast about how all roads lead to Martinsville, and you can get sent down 10 or 15 different roads going out of that place. It's ridiculous. The
Martinsville cops are the Chase Briscoe at the Coca-Cola 600 last year.
That was a stretch. That was
historically ass.
Okay, you could have just said that. Yeah, I don't know. That's all I think we really got. I guess I'll end it on my biannual. Does that mean twice a year? Yes.
Yes. Or every other year. It means both, actually.
Okay, well then we're going for biannual, as in twice a year. Rant on how terrible Martinsville Speedway is. The racing sucks there right now. And that was the racing being good was the only thing saving it. It's the traffic's terrible. Every bit of security that is there is the biggest, authoritative, I got a small PP person in the world. A lot of the fans there are just not even, I wouldn't even call them race fans. I call them race idiots. And yeah, just the facility's not great. And, we've seen billions of dollars be put into NASCAR tracks, and Martinsville continues to get neglected. So maybe, there's supposed to be, speaking of the security, it's supposed to be guest services. They don't service any of the guests. They did not make my experience at Martinsville Speedway any sort of better. In fact, they made it worse. So, shout out to that.
Picks.
Oh yeah, we do that. So Chuck's
mic died.
Which is perfect because he doesn't get to defend himself when I tell you that he picked Chase Purdy. He actually just said Chase as his pick.
I picked Chase Elliott. Let it be known.
Well, okay. So he picked.
Let it be known.
Yeah. You just said Chase, which isn't specific enough because there's several Chases out there.
Here's my defense.
No. I ain't done yet. No. I ain't done yet. So I guess we'll give you the win, but
we'll award it to you.
Yeah.
So here's why I won.
because we decided that you could win.
No, I'm just going to tell you why and how I won. Hold on. I got to figure out which
Chase
one
Elliott
is
finished better than our other 2 picks. That's how
So
you
the
won.
reason I only said Chase is because if you go look at the record books, I've already picked Chase Briscoe this year.
I was well aware. We said this last week.
So therefore, I shouldn't have to say Elliott because I can only pick one of them.
You know how many Chases I know?
Dude, we thought you just
3
typed your own name randomly.
Yeah, we did.
We were
literally
confused.
Yeah, I don't know
I
if you've
kind
ever
of figured. No, that crossed my mind. You guys were definitely sitting there thinking, "What about you?"
It just said it just popped up. The first text in the chain was just Chase. We're like,
we know
who we know who's talking. Fucking what?
We read it on the show. We were like, Chase. It's not even his name's Chuck. But yeah. So you won, by the way. I guess we'll give it to you. So who are you picking for Texas?
Texas.
Oh, I'm trying to get this piece of shit to charge.
Well, can't you do that like after the podcast since there's only like a few minutes
I gotta
left?
see.
No, we can't.
I have a pick I want to make, but I just got to make sure I haven't picked him yet.
No, go ahead and make it.
I got the list right here. So.
Have I picked? I've picked Bubbles already, right? I picked him at Vegas.
Yeah, you picked him already.
Yeah.
I know if there's Bubba Wallace fans watching this, I don't say that as a hater comment. I just enjoy calling him Bubba Wallace. It's just fun.
Could have just left it alone.
It's very funny though.
It is pretty funny.
God forbid he have 2 picks. Seth, who are you picking for Texas?
I'm gonna pick Bill Free Willy.
Okay.
Ugh, why would I pick him?
You haven't picked him already?
No, yeah.
No. Wait, do I get to go next or do you get to go next?
Oh, I guess I'll go next because technically.
Yeah, Tiggle Gibble had a bad weekend. So.
Yeah. Tyrannosaurus Gibbs did not have a good run. I'm gonna pick Bubba Wallace.
I didn't know what the hell to do, so I'm gonna pick Ryan Blaney.
That's fair. All right.
Hey, I got a question.
Oh hell!
And then I got a comment in that order.
Can I change my pick since it's not a guy you guys picked?
No,
I don't like that's a bad precedent. We can't do that.
No.
Why?
You had first pick and you're like, oh, wait.
I forgot I had first pick and I forgot who I could pick.
Well, that sounds like a personal problem.
Can we have one mulligan a year?
No, because you're going to change it to Kyle Larson and you're going to win for sure.
No, I'm not.
No, you said William Byron. You can't. Nope.
I don't want to use William Byron.
You should have said William Byron then.
Yeah.
I said Brad Keselowski. What are you talking about?
Oh, you can't gaslight me, motherfucker.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
NASCAR does a bad enough job of that already. You can't do it now.
Plus,
go back, watch the tape. I said Brad.
Look, you can't change your pick after we already went because now you're narrowed down by 2 people. So you know what? No,
I already have video.
I'm picking
Buddy.
a lesser opponent than either one of them. But okay.
I already had video Buddy telling me he was going to give me $100 if something happened a few years ago, and then it happened and he didn't do it.
Did you guys know that Seth used the first bit of AI ever used in the world to make that video?
Deepfake already existed, Buddy.
That was a joke, Seth. What was your comment, sir?
I guess I have William Byron.
No, I didn't have a comment. It's a Letterkenny quote. He says, I have a question, and then a comment in that order. Anyway.
What?
Never mind. Have y'all not? You've watched Letterkenny, buddy.
Who?
Yeah.
You've never seen Letterkenny?
No.
So give your balls a tug. Anyway.
Can we?
This has been the Big Motor Small Blade podcast.
He's
been it. Sure. I mean, yeah, we complained about the next gen car for like 35 minutes. It's definitely the Big Motor Small Blade. And then we talked about Shane van Gisbergen. It's definitely the Big Motor Small Blade podcast. Yeah. He's been Buddy. He's been Chuck. I've been a Cookout shill, and I will continue to be until they sponsor. Please
Cookout
sponsor.
is goated.
Cookout's goated. Please sponsor. I will literally rebrand the podcast, the Cookout Big Motor Small Blade Podcast.
I'm so glad they have 3 races this year. The only thing that would be better
Hang
is
up the damn call.
the Chick-fil-A 300 for the Xfinity series because they can't race on Sundays.
It's not as good as a Cookout. Anyway,
Fuck
bye
Chick-fil-A.
everybody.